Could the hero hunter from One Punch Man, Garou, take down the greatest hero of the My Hero Academia verse, aka Allmight? Well, technically it's Deku, shut up, bitch. For this scenario, we will take Season 2 Garou and put him against the All Might from the first 3 seasons and first movie. This fight is actually a lot more interesting than you may think and is a lot closer than people would expect it to be. With that aside though, let me know down below what other heroes you'd like to see Garou hunt down next. And with that aside, please enjoy. To start off, we will begin with the number 1 hero, that being All Might, because I know a lot of you have been dying for me to talk about my hero. In his debut fight with the sludge monster, he managed to punch with so much force that it not only atomized the monster, but it even affected the weather and caused it to rain. Calculations have this feat to potentially island level, which sounds iffy, but I mean, we then see him in states not even beyond 100% of his power, being able to generate enough energy to destroy islands anyway, like in the first movie when he was able to stop that metal cube with such a ridiculous size. All Might being in this tier to me just seems consistent, but even with the worst downplay, he's withstanding attacks that level towns and casually destroying one with the air from his punches while super suppressed. So unironically, even the flimsy All Might that is barely holding his own against All For One is probably reaching those S-class levels bare minimum. Just for those who want a quick comparison between the two verses. Now, attack potency is pretty easy to determine here due to All Might himself just being a guy who punches very hard, so his feats are pretty cut and dry in comparison to, let's say, Jujutsu Kaisen or One Piece characters. And obviously, due to All Might being able to withstand his punches, his durability should be at a relative level as well. Now, we can get into speed, which is a little more controversial than attack potency and durability, as there's a lot of contention with where my hero is at. Personally, I think them being at the very least lightning timers isn't far-fetched to say, since characters like Kaminari, who's at best a mid-tier, is capable of shooting lightning blasts from his fingertips. If you have contentions with this, there is also Midoriya blitzing a bullet at relativistic speeds, along with Deku using gear shift to blitz Shigaraki's perception, which was calced around sub-relativistic, or a single-digit percentage of the speed of light. To say All Might would scale to this is a little shaky, especially given my hero's insane power cliffing, and to be fair, I'm not fully caught up and aware of the power scaling within the verse, but I do believe All Might should roughly scale to this tier in terms of speed. And for those who are going to comment, no, I don't think Shigaraki's radio waves or light speed and Deku being able to react from that far of a distance means anything, along with Aoyama shooting a goop laser that doesn't even act like a real laser. It may have the material of light, but it clearly isn't an actual like light beam, and a lot of people like to use this and run around saying that my hero by like season 2 is light speed, which is super silly. And with the speed category aside, we can now talk about All Might attacks, which unlike a lot of other Superman clones or Superman inspired characters, he has the specific ability to change fate or bend it so that he's able to achieve victory. He does this against All For One when the odds were stacked against him, and we see Deku throughout all of Season 4 trying to twist fate and show that Nadia's predictions aren't always right, and he's doing this through One For All, and plus All Might legit tells him to do this. So it's not like it's an ability that Deku only has access to. For those who are confused what fate manipulation means, like, oh, is All Might just gonna win every fight because, you know, he has the will to do so? No. However, characters who are relative to All Might and are beating him pretty bad usually end up somehow, someway falling to All Might, and that's because of One For All's power. So if, let's say, Garou and All Might were relative in terms of attack potency, then All Might could just use that fate manipulation to drive his W even further. And with that aside, let's talk about how the man who always gets back up does against someone who does the exact same thing, but rather through the power of One For All and bending fate, it's through sheer determination and hard work. Garou, the ex-student of Bang before becoming a monster, was still a beast in his own right. Just off of his introduction, we see him beating down Tank Top Master, an S-class hero who possesses power relative to that of Jacket Genos, who, mind you, Garou at 1 HP was able to contend against. This would mean Garou, even at 1 HP, unironically would beat the likes of Season 1 and early Season 2 Genos, the same Genos who was able to blast a chunk into the House of Evolution mountain. This feat was calculated to be around city level, which I think is a crazy lowball considering the bare minimum requirement for S-Class is being able to defeat villains that can destroy cities. And Season 1 Genos, or at least this version of him, is probably the weakest S-Class unironically anyway. We also have other feats that Garou could scale to, like Elder Centipede's Charge that Metal Bat stops, and based on his size, Metal Bat would need mountain levels of energy in order to physically stop someone that big. But the thing is that Garou physically doesn't scale to Metal Bat, as the only reason he's able to parry and block his blows is through his martial arts style, as without that, he would more than likely suffer insane damage from just one blow. But we do know in the anime, Garou and Shiryu are portrayed to be relative when Garou is weakened, meaning he should upscale to the likes of Choze's Blast, which in the anime has been calculated to be around potentially island level. Before you guys go in the comments, I do not think Human Garou is in this tier, but for the sake of the matchup and seeing how these two are reaching similar tiers, I decided to just lay the scaling out for you to keep in the back of your mind. I don't genuinely believe Human Garou is island level. I do believe he's exceeding that city tier and maybe approaching that mountain level tier, but 100% he's definitely above city level. Now, speed luckily is even easier to pinpoint than attack potency in One Punch Man, as like I said earlier, Garou at 1 HP was contending with the likes of Jacket Genos, meaning he should be able to react to the likes of early season 2 Genos, the same Genos who's reacting to G4's Light. For those who want lower end stuff, even as early as season 1, we have characters like Lightning Max and Sonic reaching massively hypersonic speeds, with Lightning Max literally just being stated to have lightning reaction speeds, and Sonic blitzing Deep Sea King so bad that the rain was moving in slow motion. His main power isn't his attack or speed, it's his fighting style. The Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist is a style that reflects your opponent's power back at you with double the force while freely adapting in combat to whatever you do. Garou as well always aims for his opponent's vitals while also predicting every potential move you're going to make based on your posture and center of gravity. Human Garou as well does show monstrous endurance, going from fighting Watchdog Man to Saitama to then 8 A and B class heroes that managed to poison him, and even after all of that, he still somehow fought and was able to rip one of Genos' arms, a Genos who just got done getting upgraded and got done fighting Awakened Cockroach in G4. Like One For All, Garou is able to overcome the odds no matter how impossible it seems, but instead of having fate on his side, it's through sheer drive and determination. And with both characters analyzed, let's discuss the scenario. We'll say for this fight, Garou just pulls up on Class 1A and attempts to run a gauntlet like how he did in One Punch Man. Only this time, instead of being met with any S-Class or Pro heroes, he'd face none other than the Symbol of Peace. He'd arrive in a similar state to when he arrived in the USJ completely enraged, and he would immediately go in for a punch, but Garou sees this coming from a mile away due to superior skill and speed. He would send Allmight's punch right back at him with the Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist, and All Might would question how this happened so suddenly, but he would immediately recover from the attack, and he would prepare a fighting stance to see what Garou is going to do next, as the Hero Hunter would get in a fighting stance preparing for All Might. And so with the scenario out the way, the fight would truly begin. Now, it's pretty clear comparing who hits harder. Garou at best is reaching tiers All Might in his casual 100% form is already at. Garou reasonably should be significantly weaker, as Choze's Blast in the manga isn't nearly as strong as the anime version, rather reaching those city levels of power that Garou already was at. With WANK, they're maybe relative, with All Might still edging him out due to having One For All's fate powers. As for speed, it's a little more interesting since Garou is probably way faster than All Might, and even if they were relative in speed, because All Might is a brute fighter, it's going to be super easy for Garou to read his moves. So on one hand, you have Garou probably not having the power to bring All Might down physically, but on the other hand, All Might is going to have trouble landing hits on Garou. It's kind of like a Sonic versus Genos type situation, but it's a little more complex than this, as Garou has different ways to approach All Might. Garou could aim for specific vital points so he gets hurt regardless of All Might's superior durability, and can even apply All Might's style into his own to bring him down. And you would think due to this, Garou should just get the W, right? Well, it would be that easy if All Might again did not have the power to twist fate, along with having the power to somehow push himself beyond 100%. If we were to give Garou the benefit of the doubt and say he's somehow relative and All Might is not able to land hits, All Might straight up would just go beyond 100%, either neg all of Garou's attacks and eventually land a hit, or just make Garou hurt himself, and he would just throw a go beyond plus ultra and knock Garou into next week. It's going to be kind of similar to how he approached Metal Bat, but instead of him just getting knocked out due to taking so much damage, All Might is going to continuously get stronger and just go beyond plus ultra and just uppercut Garou, bro. All Might has been put in far worse situations and has managed to overcome them, so to say he'd stop to someone like Human Garou is a little silly. If you guys are wondering what version of Garou I think could take him down, honestly, past the Rover fight, I don't see All Might really winning. At best, maybe the one right before the Darkshine fight, but after adapting and breaking his limiter, there's really no way All Might is going to win, regardless of, you know, the power of fate. Unfortunately, my glorious king does not win the matchup, and the symbol of peace would bring down the hero hunter.